Hello guys, it is Wulzy. Welcome back to the review series episode 4. Today we're going to be reviewing Wubister by Christian 1, and I'm going to change the format of these videos a little bit so that I'm playing the level first and then I get into my thoughts. So I think this is an excellent level, probably the best one that has been suggested in the recent few that have been requested to this series. This wasn't requested by Christian, but I messaged him on Discord afterwards, and he seems thrilled about the idea of this level being on the series, so it is my pleasure to review it. He's also given me some insight on how certain effects were made, like the background here, and I'm really excited to show you how it's made because it's quite ingenious. Looks really nice. Overall, it's just a really good level. I probably shouldn't have died, but oh well. Having problems recording the video over a video. As you can see, whenever I pause the video it jumps a few frames. So instead I'm going to be taking screenshots of parts of the level and looking at them in Paint. Alright, so right off the bat, the level starts off grayscale and then pulses into these really nice looking gradients which give a really nice colour variety even within the first section of the level. Alright, so I believe that this has been done with a white mask because as you can see all of the greys and blacks have now been coloured by these two gradients at the side, and it looks really nice because there's 4 shades of colours within one tile of a block. It's not exactly white, I don't think. I think it's just a little bit grey so that it still gets the tint, but it still looks really nice. Yeah, some things I like about this section are the saws on the side of the blocks, and also the variation between the types of blocks that are used within the block design. This arrow right here looks really nice, however I think that it could be scaled down and copied a bit in the level, just to fill in some dark space, because as you can see there's lots of open spaces like this and this and this where there's no deco, and it's just a blank background that gets coloured with the gradients on the side, which is nice, but I think it could be a little bit more full, especially areas like this where there's literally no decoration and it's just background. I like the custom saws that have been made and slotted into the level. I think that fills up space on the sides of the blocks and the ground spikes really nicely, and I like that he's varied what's actually on the ground because there's saws and there's spikes with blocks, which looks really nice as a whole. Alright, this part looks really nice. I like the block design and how it's got curves in, and the background is just, it's quite basic, but it really fits this part as a whole. To make one layer of colour in this, there needs to be 4 groups used, and it's split up like this. So all of this is one group, all of this is one group, all of this is one group, and all of this is one group. And they start off like this, and they move away from the center like this, and that creates this vortex in the background, which also moves to the music. So every time there's a beat it goes faster and then slows down due to the easing that's used, which is really nice, and it also comes back together in the later parts of the section. There's one thing effect wise that I would change about the level, and it's this section. So this background, obviously it has the moving layers, however this space right here is 10 blocks and this space here is 20 blocks. So to change this I would have a diamond or some sort of shape like so. So say that this arrow means that it's filling the rest of the screen. This could rotate, obviously with more layers than this, and it would create a nice difference between the squares in the middle and the diamonds on the outside. And I think it would vary up this entire background a little bit more, and it would save this just being stripes moving around the outside. This block right here is actually a portal. I really like that the portal comes together in an animated fashion. So this moves up and this moves up and it forms a portal right here, which looks really nice, and it's so smooth when you play the level. I just want to point out the variety of decoration. So we've got these diamonds, the bigger diamonds with arrows in that are really subtle but look really nice, these glow pieces, and these wave blocks at the bottom, which all come together in a similar colour. So this is quite monochromatic apart from the gradients at the sides. Even the bricks here are similarly coloured to the rest of the decoration, and it just ties in together really nicely. Then we've got this section which is really clever because all of these blocks just move in their own sort of fashion. It's like a jigsaw really, how they're put together and taken away from each other. And the gameplay isn't affected at all. It's still really easy to get through, and it looks really nice while you're playing it. The only downside is that when all the blocks have disappeared, you're left with all of this space everywhere, and this is quite ugly because this this section right here, there's this space here that isn't occupied by the portal. So I think that the portal could be made a little bit bigger, or this saw could be moved down and there could be a block added in here that fills in this space nicely so there isn't just a big floating gap here. This part's a bit iffy for me. I really like the idea of the part as a whole, how it changes between opposite colours whenever there's a beat in the song. Really nice music sync there. But there's something about this part that doesn't sit right with me. Like, there's lots of just empty space where you can clearly draw shapes and there's just no deco at all. These saws are used a little bit, but not much, and I feel like they could be used more and varied a little bit. I'm not sure. Also, it's a shame to see that these structures have big sides open with no decoration on. That could be done by slotting these saws in behind maybe, or adding some spikes on the sides. But I don't know, the edges just look quite awkward considering before there was nice use of the saw blocks to fill it up. These arrows are cool. You can see in this one that once you go past it, it moves and like falls apart, which is a really nice touch and it's not very noticeable. Something else that isn't very noticeable is these stripes in the blocks. When you play the level, they're actually moving. Now, Christian himself told me that those stripes were probably the most annoying thing to add into the level, and not many people notice them. Again, I like the use of curves in the design here. It makes it look a bit more fresh and different, and I also like that there's some square edges as well to vary the blocks that little bit more. These blocks are really nice because they fill up the inside of the block nicely. They're varied. See, some of them have the triangle on this side, some of them have the triangle on this side, some of them have curved edges like this one. This has a curve here, and some of them are square and some of them have a curve. Really nicely varied, and it makes them all different. This outline right here is really nice, and it kind of mixes up the outline, especially with this curved corner piece where it's quite a thick corner on the edge. It varies the outline, however I still feel that there's too harsh a difference between the colour of this and the colour of this. It doesn't really sit well. Maybe in some other parts of this section, like this part or this part, it looks nicer, but I don't know. The background here is cool as well. It's got the little waves that go through. It's just a bunch of wavy blocks that move on the -X towards the player to make it look like they're waving up and down. These orbs are also very ominous. I like how they're dark in the middle and have like sort of particle objects inside them. I don't know, they really fit in well with this part, considering this is dark, this is dark, this is bright, and the orb is like a mix of bright and dark. I really like it. The transition from light to dark into the ship section is really nice, because this is perfect. The contrast here is brilliant, and it really like brings in that epic transition into the next part, which is quite bright as opposed to the dark section before. The block design here reminds me of Seriglyphy because it's got the black and white outlines, and it's also got some different tones of, I think that's pink, in the blocks. The masking effect here is brilliant. Now, Gatch had to explain this to me. This is a screenshot from the next section, but it should help to understand the levels of this effect. So, as you can see, this is all white, this mask here, but these colours are changed just to make it more clear. So, this is a rotating white layer that goes over the top of everything, but these two layers are layered really cleverly of the same colour, so that some of the mask sits above. So you can see in here that this mask is above here, and this like section of color is really cleverly set out. I don't know how to explain it other than that. You can see here that it's really cleverly done and swapped from this side to this side throughout this entire ship section, which makes a really nice effect as it goes on for, I think, 2 whole parts, and it still stays interesting. The decoration here is spiced up really nicely because we've got this circle and this circle being completely different to each other. These little black circles really help the variation, so all the blocks aren't just the same. It's not just the same pattern over and over again. The transition from having these kinds of blocks and having these kind of blocks is brilliant, as these move across the screen while the player's flying through the ship section, and it still leaves you enough room to survive. Looks awesome. Really smooth movement to the next portal. This section, as I explained, uses the same effect in the background, but has some really nice looking 3D with different shades that are really accurate, alongside these saws at the top that have these 3D effects to them, which also rotate, which it just looks really nice. However, throughout this part, the saws only seem to be at the top of the screen. There could be some down here, but I do like that the sides of the blocks have these triangles, just to diversify the edges a bit more, since the outline has been repeated for 2 sections in a row. Although I gotta admit, these diamonds are kinda weirdly organized, and it leaves some really awkward space, and I feel like they could be arranged smoothly instead of being quite janky, as you can see there. This is where the effect is the most apparent. As you can see, we've got this area is different to this area, and that's because of the layered rotations that he's got going on that are really cleverly laid behind these curved blocks. And then this is just a really cool transition into the next section, where it gets darker and transitions to the dark part of the level. Alright, so moving on to this ship, it's got some really nice structures that are made up of stripy blocks, these pillars, these stripy bits in the background, and then these domes, which look really nice as a whole. Also, the domes are varied in size. As you can see in this bottom one, there is a circle one, there's a horizontal one, and there's a vertical one. There are a lot of different tones of grey throughout this entire section, and there's also some glow to separate this block right here, to this area down here. This background effect is pretty cool. Basically, it's just a V-mask on 3 different layers. So as you can see in the screenshot that the creator sent me, there's 3 different layers, and it just looks brilliant. However, these have basically no difference, so you can't really tell very clearly that this right here is going to be longer when it gets to here than this. So I think that these layers could be spread out a bit better, like this maybe, so that you can really see the difference in the height of the blocks. The only problem with this that I've just explained is that the peak is right here, especially in this ship section, so you don't really get the full trajectory when you have the tall blocks. But yeah, we've got some nice custom arrows, some circles, just do regular deco. But I feel like there could be some spikes or a saw that's in this block or something, just to fill in some extra little space. However, these are really nice, these little spikes on the sides of the blocks, instead of just a conventional spike. I like that it wraps around the outside. And then there's a really cool transition into this city part, which is made up of blue and grey, with some little colour here. There's just there's a wide range of colours here that just make this background look absolutely amazing. Alongside this little sea that we've got going on here, there's a reflection that you can clearly see, and also some of the blocks sink into the ground, which is really nice. And Gatch told me that he was going to try and make a reflection of the obstacles in the sea, but it would have taken too many groups for him to do. I really like the pairing of these actual spike blocks in the game and these objects that are custom made, just to match them a bit nice. Yeah, words. And then at the end you sink into the ground and it shows you the title screen that's like Wubister. It's a really cool level as a whole, and I wish that my recording would actually handle a YouTube video. I don't know why it's not doing that. I'm gonna have to take a look into my settings, because I want to review this level properly, as it's probably the best one that I'm gonna get sent in for a while. So yeah, thank you for sending that in, Pack, and yeah, I've had fun reviewing this, to be honest.